Alright, hello everyone, my name is Shep, welcome back to the Circus. Today, this might be one of the final videos we will see of the Circus, at least for a while, because today I'm gonna fix the rest of it. So this is gonna be a bit of a long video, but I'm gonna try being kind of smooth and quick with all the changes. We're gonna be swiftly moving through all the trinkets that I still have to fix, all the abilities, all the base damages, all the Circus inherent characteristics, right? So we're just going to be wailing our way through that, and we're going to try fixing everything. So I have some different music on the background as well, so just settle in and enjoy. Sadly, I'm not going to do the trinkets icons and funny ability icons today with all the changes, because that'll just be way too much for a video like this. I would probably spend more time doing that than actually recording the video. Way more time doing that, but yeah. Anyway, let's get started. I'm gonna start off with the trinkets. I'm gonna go from bottom up, and I'm essentially gonna focus on the ratings that I have on them to see if I actually need to do changes, and I might also update some of the ratings, because I do think that some of them are a little bit antiquated. So let's get started. So yeah, in case I forgot to mention, the Circus still isn't working. It's been like, I don't know, 5 days at this point, maybe 6. I'm not gonna vent any more on it, it's perfectly okay. I think the developers are really trying to fix it. They've done a good fix in the past. When the Circus came out, it was really unstable with the desyncs and all that, and they fixed it completely. It was stable for a very long while, and I know it does make sense that it's gonna have issues every now and then, so we're just gonna have to wait. And while we wait, I did say that this is gonna be my last Circus video for a bit, unless, you know, it just gets fixed tomorrow. But what that means for the channel is I'm probably gonna do videos on Project Zomboid and on Hades, so if you do like those games, then you're probably gonna like it. Even if you don't like it, I would really appreciate it if you stick around. But it's okay if you don't. The Circus videos will return eventually, as soon as the Circus does return as well, so we might have a little bit of a different chapter ahead of us. It's mostly because I just want to play something and relax at the same time. Just doing all these update videos isn't quite as relaxing for me as playing the actual Circus is. So yeah, let's get started. So first off, we have to take a look at treated bandage. So of course, sustained trinkets and stalled trinkets are kind of difficult to balance for me, but I think that this one isn't going to be too difficult. I'm just going to change the healing received from plus 30 to plus 40. It's going to make it a little bit more like the recovery charm from base game, if you do actually know that. That was one of my favorite trinkets, because my playstyle was basically like Crusader, Man-at-Arms, Jester, Vestal. That was basically my playstyle, so probably a horrible team by everyone's standards, but I just liked playing it because I have 2 chunkers in the front line, I have sustain in the back line, so that was kind of my go-to. And having a recovery charm means that you can heal a lot more, and same things with treated bandage. The bleed and bite resist is kind of helpful. It doesn't really change a lot, but you know, it is helpful, especially in some matchups, and especially if you already have good resistances on these. And plus 40% healing received is actually massive. That's going to change some heals from like 10 to 14. That's massive. Yeah, definitely. It's also going to change like redeem heals, healing you for like 20. They're going to heal for what, like 28 or something of the likes. It is going to be quite a massive change. If you do want to run it, it's probably going to go up to B+ or even A tier. I wouldn't know too well. We'd have to see how actually it impacts it. And the thing is, treated bandage might look like a trinket that's only going to work in some matches, but healing received is always good. Even against stress, having healing received at the end of the match, or in case there's collateral damage, it's still going to be quite helpful. So yeah, definitely a very solid trinket. Finisher, just going to stay the exact same. I think it's a perfectly fine and balanced trinket, just really strong one. Spiked Bat might be C tier, but I would say that if it was today, I would make it B+, because I completely underestimated how powerful that bleed skill chance is. It is really a good thing to have. Many people still don't see it. They still think like, oh, come on, just bring Crimson Hook or just bring us Hemlock or something. But I think that bleed skill chance and the extra damage on top just feels so amazing on a Flagellant, for example. So I would just put it at B+. I think this trinket accomplishes what it's here to do, and I think that it's perfectly okay, so I'm not going to change it. Silver Syringe is going to stay the exact same. I don't think buffing it would be fair, because it's already a little bit oppressive if you don't have a way of countering it, so it's just gonna stay where it is, and it's a fine trinket. Sanity's been already fixed it's plus 10% stressed out, and then it's 25% damage and 12 accuracy, so quite a okay trinket. Rotting Trophy is a bit of a difficult one, because if you look at Rotting Trophy, if you don't have a lot of unique trinkets, you're gonna bring this, and it's a perfectly okay trinket. 15% stressed out, 30 blight skill chance, it's awesome. What characters would you bring this on? Well, if you want to make use of both statistics, you'd bring it on Grave Robber, Antiquarian, and on Plague Doctor. Now the problem is, the Grave Robber is going to grow up, and she's going to equip the Satchel of Dirty Tricks, which gives you almost as much stress dealt and almost as much blight skill chance, so this is actually better, but doesn't have a downside, and also gives you 10 accuracy and 4 dodge on top. So it's overall just a much better trinket. The Plague Doctor gets Volatile Concoction, which gives her almost as much blight chance, and also gives her 15 accuracy, which is great. And the Antiquarian takes Materia Passes, which just makes her blights hurt for a lot longer, even though it doesn't have stress dealt and doesn't have as much blight skill chance. So the problem with this trinket isn't that it's completely outclassed, because it isn't. No other trinket gives you this much blight skill chance and stressed out at the same time. The problem with it is that there's just no place for it in the current meta. There's just better choices, but I still wouldn't say it's a bad trinket. If I overbuff it, then it's just going to become stronger than the unique trinkets, and that's not cool. So I would say that just to make this trinket feel a little bit more viable, if you do want to run like more stress with any of those characters and more blight skill chance, I would just reduce the blight resistance debuff to -10, just to make it a little bit more viable. I think that would be perfectly okay. It's a B+ tier trinket, and I think it should stay there. Tiara's Net's a perfectly fine trinket. It gives you move skill chance and 6 accuracy on top. That 6 accuracy just sweet, absolutely sweet. Can't go wrong with it. Rancid Cure-All is a little bit better than it seems. The blight resistances and the debuff resist can be completely useless, but they can also be game changers. So to fix this trinket, if you give it anything else like protection or anything it likes, it's just gonna get a little bit too strong. So what I think I would give it is just make it have +2 max HP. I think that it's a buff that's basically not visible, but at the same time it would be quite cool, because it would make it a little bit cooler to bring on your Man-at-Arms, for example. So now you could bring Rancid Cure-All and Numbing Instance, and you would have 45 HP, which means that even if you get marked by a bounty hunter and you get shot by an arbalist while she goes last, and she crits, and she has all the damage trinkets, you still have 1 HP left, so that would be quite handy. Overall, kind of a decent trinket, a little bit of a niche, but people do like niches and people do play it, and to great effect, so I don't think it needs any kind of overbuffing. So, +2 max HP. Pit Fighter's Helm doesn't need any sort of buffs. It's a really nice trinket, 20 prot and 10 stressed out. 10 stressed out doesn't change a lot, but 20 prot can be amazing on your characters, so it really doesn't need any sort of changes. Same thing for Numbing Instance, -35% stress taken is just amazing, and the +20 stun resistance is definitely there, it's definitely noticeable, so it also doesn't need any changes. And the minus dodge doesn't really matter, because you're going to bring this on characters like the Man-at-Arms and the Flagellant, so who cares. Nepenthe definitely needs a buff, it's just bad. This trinket, even in stress matchups, it's kind of meh. You'd be better off taking Numbing Instance over it, so to fix this one, once again, it's one of those sort of trinkets where I don't like, where in some matchups it's completely useless, and it's okay to have some trinkets like that as long as they're really good at what they're there to do, because for example, if you bring Brass Bugle, it's such a nice trinket that it's almost okay to bring it even if you don't run against stress, because if you do run against stress, it's just going to win you the match. So if you look at it in the point of view like how many wins am I going to get, it's almost perfectly okay to just bring this on a Musketeer, for example, and just play with -1 trinket if you don't run against stress, so there's that. So, in terms of the Nepenthe, it's just a really sorry trinket. At the very least, buff the debuff resistance up to 20, and buff the virtue chance up to 30. I think that would make it feel a little bit more on par with the virtue trinkets that we currently have, which are the Sacred Blade and the Tears of the Lost, which are both amazing trinkets. So if those buffs were there, it would definitely help it quite a bit. And another thing I would do is the same as the Rancid Cure-All, +2 max HP. It doesn't change too much, but it would make it feel a little bit better to bring. Like 2 max HP, it's gonna save you every now and then. It's just good. It works in every single matchup once you actually do that. and it's gonna feel like Nepenthe is actually worth bringing. So I would do that, and Nepenthe would probably go up to maybe not B+, but at the very least, it's gonna stay in a higher B-. So there's that. You could potentially take this like on Abominations. That would be really smart with that extra max HP as well. So I think it would be an okay trinket. Monkey Small doesn't need any changes. It's really freaking strong. Also has some definitely noticeable downsides, but it's just really no changes needed. A Drag Chopper is a trinket that people don't usually bring because for melee characters you're either gonna need accuracy or you're gonna need other stuff like stun chance, move chance, or even resistances. So Drag Chopper is a trinket that feels a little bit sad. What I would do with it is I don't know, because it can be good. That plus damage melee skills is definitely noticeable, as well as the crit. It's just kind of a sorry trinket at the moment. I will have to... I mean, I'm going to change everything today, so I think I'm gonna do that. There's a friend of mine which is doing a list on all the trinkets, and they already have like, I don't know, like 30 pages on a document or something. So they probably have it better nailed down than what I do here, so I'm gonna have to get back to this in a second. Alright, and I have returned after checking that document, and I did agree with some things on the document, I disagree with others, but I'm going to completely copy the changes from that document from Jane Moon, which is in the Discord server if you want to check it out. It's not complete yet, but it is definitely there. And the changes that they did was the damage on the Jack Chopper just becomes universal, so it's plus 15% damage and 3 crit. And Hunter's Charm is getting a kind of a big change. It becomes plus 15% damage versus marked, because, you know, it's a Hunter's Charm, and it becomes plus 5% damage. So instead of having the accuracy, it's gonna have more damage. It's gonna be kind of a marked synergy trinket, which we currently don't have. The marked synergy trinkets are all character specific. So I think that this change would definitely make these two trinkets feel a little bit more unique, because right now they're both weird. And making plus 15% damage plus 3% crit is definitely quite strong on, you know, just overall. And this, with that mark synergy, is going to make it kind of viable for other characters as well. So the Gladiator Helm, this is definitely an okay trinket. It's just, some people run this, some people swear by it, like, you know, bring Gauntlet of Absolution, Gladiator Helm on Flashball, trust me, it's great. And I just say, like, really? Because 10 prot, 5 max HP, it definitely does what it's here to do. It makes your character a little bit more survivable, but I feel like it just doesn't do enough of that. So what I would do with it is just make it 10 prot and plus 6 max HP, which is only plus 1 max HP, but you have to keep in mind that also affects percentage healing. So you are going to feel that plus 6 max HP a little bit more significantly than you think. And overall, it's still not going to be a top tier trinket. But if you make defensive trinkets like this top tier, then the game is kind of broken, because offense is supposedly better than defense. So yeah, I'm just gonna have it with plus 6 max HP, I think that's okay. Exotic Snuff isn't getting any changes, even if the minus 4 accuracy kind of sucks. I think that it is a trinket that needs to have that minus 4 accuracy. And I also like the plus 10 damage when acting first, because it means that even if you don't run against stuns / moves, which is really rare that a team doesn't have either of those, you are still gonna be able to make use of it to some extent. So yeah, I think that's perfectly okay. Eerie Eye is a completely balanced trinket, and I don't mean this ironically, it is just probably the most balanced trinket in the Butcher Circus. It ignores stealth, gives you 12 accuracy, debuff, skill chance. It's just great. It's a great trinket. For the characters that want it, it just feels great to bring. Sometimes you also want other stuff, so you can't really bring it, but you know, that's just the trade of the game. You are limited to 2 trinkets, so there's that. Eagle Eye Talisman is an okay trinket, 10 damage and 10 accuracy. Feels really good on some characters that need the accuracy, and the damage is noticeable too, so I don't think I would make any changes to it, or else it would just become a little bit too strong, so it's gonna stay right where it is. Same thing with the Crushed Hemlock, it definitely doesn't need any changes. It's one of the most dynamic trinkets, and it makes DOT teams feel a whole lot better to play, so I'm gonna keep it where it is. Same thing with the Crimson Hook. Crimson Hook is just really solid trinket. I like it very much. It should stay exactly where it is. crit bleed skill chance, and that stress dealt 25. It just feels great, and even then it's not OP, so I would keep it where it is 100%. It's so good that some people even bring it on characters that don't have bleed, just to have synergy with the characters that do bleed. Like, for example, you bring this on the Men-at-Arms and you spam Bellow, which is really cool. Carnival Mask is going to get a slight buff, even though I think it's already a good trinket. I'm going to change it up to +5 accuracy, so it's +1. And why do that? Well, the thing is, if you compare Carnival Mask to stuff like Grit of Execution, it just kind of falters a good amount. I mean, a lot of stuff falters against Grit of Execution because it just gives you so many freaking stats. But at the very least, make Carnival Mask feel a little bit better to bring. You still wouldn't bring it over Grit of Execution, even though it does better stress. It's just that 5% doesn't really impact too much. You're better off taking the damage and the death blow chance and the plus accuracy. So yeah, Carnival Mask, slight buffs. I don't want to make it too big or else it would be kind of too strong of a trinket, so just do that. Basically, my idea here isn't to completely rework the Butcher Circus and make a mess out of it, because that's what would happen if I was to completely rework the Butcher Circus. I think that's actually one of the principles in game balance, is that you're always going to get it wrong the first time. So what I want to do is I want to improve on an already balanced game, because I think the Butcher Circus is balanced. There's some imbalances, but overall it's balanced. So yeah, just slightly improving the things that aren't too good. Now, Brass Knuckles are A tier, and you cannot buff them. You cannot give them accuracy. Some people think like, oh, wouldn't it be great if it had accuracy? Yes, it would be overpowered. The weaknesses, I mean, stuns have a few weaknesses, but one of those weaknesses, probably the biggest one, is their lack of accuracy. If you bring a lot of stun characters, you won't have accuracy for it. And stuns, while they have good base accuracy, they don't have good synergy with trinkets. And if you bring 2 stun trinkets, unless you're a Vestal, which cheats, you don't get any accuracy. So having Brass Knuckles with accuracy would be broken. They should just stay where they are. No buffs, no nerfs. And yeah, Vestal does cheat with that Dazzling Light, but that's literally pretty much the only good thing that Vestal does, apart from big healing. But that big healing is only really matters because she isn't restricted to only having big healing. She can also be a really good stun character. So yeah, I'm not gonna nerf the Vestal, just a heads up, I'm not gonna nerf her stuns. So, Brass Bugle is gonna stay where it is, even though it goes against kind of like one of my, not game philosophies, but one of my team design philosophies, where I don't bring trinkets like this. It is useful just because of how freaking good it is. Plus 50 stress relief skills. Of course, that anti-stress abilities are worse than stress abilities, because stress abilities usually do more than them. But if you put this on, your anti-stress character is going to do way more than one of their stress characters, so that if you buff this anymore, it would be completely broken, so I'm not going to do that. I think it's perfectly okay where it is. Bloodstained Gambeson is a sorry trinket because it gives you a lot of max HP, but the second stat is completely useless. And I mean completely. 4% death resist. It's so minimal that you won't feel a difference. So what I would do with this is I would make it have plus 10% bleed resist on top, because, you know, it's already bloodstained, so bleeding attacks wouldn't pierce through the leather quite as well. Don't question it. I don't know why this would have plus death res, but it's gonna increase, it's gonna go up to 5, which doesn't change too much, but I don't think this trinket needs too many buffs, because plus 8 max HP is underrated, completely underrated. That's a big amount of HP. That's more than a third of some characters. Actually, 8 times 3 is 24, so no, it isn't more than a third, but it makes a massive increase on the HP amount of some characters, so I'd say that plus 8 max HP, plus 10% bleed res, and plus 5 death blow res puts it at an okay spot, probably B-, maybe even B+ in some matchups. That HP can really synergize well with Flagellants, so I don't want to buff this trinket too much. Ank of Life, we've already gone over it. It has the same thing, but once you drop to the start, it gives you an Aegis block. Really nice trinket, probably A tier. Volatile Concoction, it's gonna stay exactly where it is. It's just a really good one, and I don't want to give it any buffs. We've already gone over the Plague Doctor, so I'm not gonna go over that again. The Musketeer is gonna stay exactly where she is. I think she's a perfectly fine character. Tincture of Iodine, Mini Ball Iron Sights, and Buckshot Cartridge are okay. One thing I'm considering right now is making Iron Sights literally better than Stabilizing Tiller. But the way I'm considering to do that is, what I want to do to Stabilizing Tiller is, it's obvious that it needs a nerf. It can't be huge, because then anti-Mark teams just beat Mark every single match, so I can't nerf Mark quite as much as some people would like me to, but I can nerf it. I can definitely nerf it. And what I'm gonna do is, you can no longer crit. You can bypass guard versus marked, but you can't crit versus guarded. So that is the idea with the stabilizing tiller. You get like minus 100% crit versus guarded, something of the likes. So you're not gonna crit characters if you shoot them through a guard, which you can already shoot through the guard. That should be your buff with this trinket. You don't get to have your cake and eat it. If you do want to get one shots reliably through the guards, you're still gonna have to break them. So it's gonna make guards feel a little bit better with against the stabilizing tiller, because at the moment it's just way too strong. And what I'm thinking of doing is removing the plus 5% crit from the iron sights, the plus 5% crit versus marked, but keeping the crits versus guard. But at the same time, then she won't have as much crit against not guard. So I'm just gonna make the same change for both of them, honestly. Yeah, just make it so it's minus 100% crit versus guarded for both. The other trinkets don't need any changes, even though piercing coil and mini ball are really strong. They kind of need to be this strong. And buckshot cartridge and weight balls are kind of like niche trinkets that don't really need changes. Medic's full plate doesn't need change, it's perfectly okay trinket. Well-tuned loot is kind of sad, because where the brass bugle works, the well-tuned loot just doesn't, because if Chester's just spamming stress heals in the back, you really need to have him in a good matchup against stress teams, because if you don't have it in the matchup against stress teams, well-tuned loot is just useless. Same thing for Brass Bugle. But if you have Brass Bugle Musketeer, at least you can support your team in other ways. The Jester, the only support you can do is the Battle Ballad. The Stress Heal doesn't really change anything. So it is quite a sad trinket. I've already changed this trinket, but I can't remember the change I did to it. So I'm just gonna have to figure out how I would make it better. And the way I'm gonna make this trinket better is actually a little bit of a weird one. But going on par with the name of the trinket is that I wanted to have plus 25% stressed out. So what that's gonna mean is, even though 25% stressed out, like just put it on there, feels huge, the Jester only has one stress move, which is solo, and it does 12 stress, it can't crit, and if you give it plus 25%, it's gonna do 15. So it's gonna do a little bit more stress, so this is gonna be kind of a stress Jester, anti-stress Jester team. So anti-stress Jester, anti-stress Jester team trinket. Yeah, that's the name for it. So it's still not going to be great, but it's going to be a little bit better. The stress relief skills definitely feels good, and the minus 20 stress again is 100% noticeable. If you do run against stress Jester, anti-stress Jester teams with a stress team, you are probably going to lose unless your stress team is really fast. If you have one that's kind of like defensive or kind of more dynamic, it's probably not going to be able to win. So this trinket, it doesn't need too many buffs in my opinion. So yeah, Reaper Shroud is just a sorry trinket because it does give you plus 15% damage, and that's good. It's definitely noticeable. The plus 20 accuracy is also quite good, but it's not as good as the finisher for sure. It doesn't give you the kills, and it doesn't do even near as much damage as the Blood Red Coin. So it's just kind of in a weird place. So what I would do with it is I would just buff the crit rate up to 4. Not a lot of trinkets have 4% crit rate. Do any trinkets have 4% crit rate? Let's see if someone gets to it before I do. Do any trinkets actually have 4% crit rate? I don't think so. Actually, it's usually 3 or 5, and then 6, 7, 8, not 9. Nothing has 9. I don't think there's 10 either. So yeah, having it with 4% crit rate would be quite cool. Is there really no trinket with 4? I'm having a look. Yeah, I don't believe there's any trinket with plus 4% crit rate. It's pretty fun just thinking over these things, seeing if you can remember all the silly stats. Maybe the Bounty Notice has 4? Let me have a look. Yeah, the Bounty Notice has 4. Yeah, there we go. There is a trinket with 4% crit rate, so I did get it eventually. Infamous Visage has 10, interesting. So yeah, but it's gonna have 4% crit rate. It's an extra 1 crit. J-Man's gonna like it for the crit finale. I don't think it needs too many buffs, because the damage is definitely noticeable on the Dirk Snap and on the finale. And the accuracy is also really good to have, so let's just keep it where it is. Also, keep in mind that the accuracy is worse than the finishers, because finisher is at below 40, this one's below 35, so it's not quite as good, but yeah, I'm gonna change it to below 40. Having it below 35 is just weird, just keep it to below 40, that's okay. So Harlequin Mask is kind of a bad trinket because I don't think that the on melee attack hit stress minus 10 actually works on Harvest, so you're only curing 10. Don't quote me on it, because I'm not sure if it actually works or not. I don't think I've tried it. And the plus 20 max HP feels like a lot, but considering that Jester only has 30 base, you're only going to go up to 36, which really isn't much. So how would you change this trinket? I had a massive list of changes for it. 1 second. Alright, I'm gonna have to go back a second because I actually found the changes I had with Jane Moon to actually change these trinkets, and we kind of went over them together. And well-tuned loot isn't getting what I said it would get, even though it would be pretty cool. The other thing that it does get is you remove the stress relief skills, and instead, on friendly skill, plus 10% crit chance. So it would be a buff that lasts for 1 round. It applies on battle balance, so that would be nuts. And then it applies on the, what do you call it, the inspiring tune, so it would be really insane on the Jester. I think that would make it a really cool trinket, so yeah, we're going back here for sure. And then the Reaper Shroud is going to get plus 20% debuff chance because of the Mortal Wound. It's going to get a small buff. I'm still going to go over Mortal Wound, I'm still going to go over the ability, so there's that. And Harlequin Mask is going to get plus 10% prot, plus 15% stun resistance, but minus 5 dodge, so it's going to be a tanky Jester trinket. And if you look at it, 10 prot, 20% max HP, an extra 30% stun res, he's still not tanky. He's still at 36 HP, 10% prot, and 20 stun res, but that feels a lot better than 30 HP, 0 prot, and 5% stun res. And then you also have the stress heal on top, so tanky Jester is definitely a big thing. And if you run it with the new Gladiator Helm, which makes you have plus 6 max HP, it would probably give you another point on the Harlequin Mask, maybe even 2 points, so you'd be really tanky with that. If you don't want to run Monkey Spa, you do have that going for you. So Blood Red Coin is going to stay the exact same, it doesn't need any sort of changes, it's good enough as it is already. Tears of the Lost, exact same. Materia Pass is exact same. They're just really nice trinkets. Impossible Glyph is getting a change for sure. Alright, and for Impossible Glyph, the change that I'm actually going to give it is, actually, I'm going to completely change the trinket because I don't think this trinket fits the Antiquarian. Debuff chance is good for Flash Powder, but honestly, if you want debuff chance and these abilities, you already have base trinkets for it. I don't think it's a good fit to the Antiquarian's playstyle, so I'm going to change it out completely. What I am going to give her is, she's going to get, with this trinket, plus 8 dodge, plus 20% death blow resistance, and plus 20% death blow dealt chance while at death's door. So it's kind of an impossible trinket to decipher, like how do you use it. So it gives you dodge and death blow resistance, so technically, with that insane amount of death blow resistance, you kind of don't need to go take cover, you can stay at death's door, and abilities will only have a 5% chance of getting a death blow on you if they actually hit you. So the defense at death's door is actually really freaking good. And the 20% death blow dealt chance while at this door is amazing for the end of the match if you're both at 0 HP, for example, because you're gonna have a big advantage on it. So I think that overall it would be a pretty nice trinket. I actually made this trinket for someone, so I was doing these little trinket UIs with different people, so I made a lot of funny trinkets. I'm gonna go over them at the end of the video. Actually, I think that would be a pretty cool idea. So I've already changed out Ghoul Claw, I give it a little bit of crit and a little bit of extra horror. Black Diamond Mirror should stay the exact same. I did think about giving it damage reflection. I could give it damage reflection. I could indeed do that, but it might be a bit much on it, because it's already a nice trinket. Even then, it's not a great trinket, let's be honest. You know what, I think what would be cool on the Black Diamond Mirror is plus 3% crits received, so it's kind of like Monkey Spa, a bit more like Monkey Spa, but at the same time you also get 20% damage reflection, so on an Antiquarian, let's be honest, it's not gonna change too much, especially since it's a dodge trinket on top, so it's like, it dodges, but in case you do get hit, it's gonna hit back. It's not gonna hit back for a lot, but it hits back for a little bit, so I think that overall 20% damage reflection really isn't going to do much, but at the very least it's going to make Black Diamond Mirror feel a little bit fair to take, because at the moment you rarely see anyone bring it. It's like only the hardcore Antiquarian defensive players that bring it, and those players are dying off. and those kinds of teams are also dying off as well, so having a little bit of damage reflection on it is perfectly fine. All Balanced Stiletto is getting a big buff, so what's happening here is, what's this trinket's biggest problem is that after going melee, you don't go ranged. After you go for pick to the face, you're already going pick to the face, so that sucks. And if you want to go like pick to the face, you're probably going to go Shadow Fade next, or you're going to move back so you can actually use your good abilities, or you're just going pick to the face because you need to do damage against Prot. And if you go lunge, you're probably going to go Shadow Fade after, or even Toxin Trickery or something of the like. So what I'm going to do with it is, I think the second part of the trinket is perfectly okay. On range attack hit, plus accuracy and death with L-Trans melee skills, like that's great. What I'm going to do is, on friendly skill, buff self plus 20% damage range skills, and on friendly skill buff self plus 6% crit range skills. So what that means is, after you go Toxin Trickery or Shadow Fade, oh boy, you're gonna hurt. It is gonna be quite good, and it's gonna make this trinket feel a whole of a lot better to play. It's probably gonna be B+ at that point, because it's gonna make damage Grave Robber feel just all so much better. So it is a great change. The Satchel of Dirty Tricks is going to stay exactly where it is. I don't think it needs any buffs. Same thing with Leather Bandolier. Both of these are kind of weird, because sometimes you want to take one, sometimes you want to take the other. You don't want to take both, because Monkey Spell is better. But yeah, they're both okay trinkets. I don't think any of them need buffs. They're both nice. Same thing with Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger is perfectly fine. Doesn't need any buffs, in my opinion. It's basically just a lunge trinket. You don't really run flashing daggers with this, so it's okay. Then you have Training Whistle. Training Whistle feels kind of bad, but at the same time it can't have any buffs, in my opinion. Apart from +5 accuracy versus marked, I think that would be okay, because Hound's Rush is horrible accuracy. It has 90, while Sniper Shot has 110, so it's definitely in a rough spot. And with this, it gets a lot of plus damage and also very nice crit. Most of the time you're gonna run this just to get crits on the Hound's area anyway, because +8 crit range skills is absolutely insane. So I would just give it +5 accuracy versus mark, so it feels a little bit better for the people that actually want to bring Hound's Rush doggy. A Tattered Chew Toy kind of wants changes. It's not a great trinket. It's kind of like Brass Bugle, except a little bit better, except a little bit worse. So, Tattered Chew Toy, there's really no reason to bring it at the moment. What I would do is, I would just give it maybe an extra 2 max HP. I know it feels weird to do that. It's probably gonna turn into a meme. You know those memes where the best I can do. You know those pawn shop memes where the guy that's behind the counter, he always does like these horrible deals, and he's like, the best I can do is +2 max HP. Someone has to make a meme of that. And yeah, that's really the best I can do, because Doggy is kind of low on max HP, and even with this trinket he doesn't feel very survivable, so at +2 he's gonna feel a little bit better. Okay, Padded Arm Guard's not gonna get any changes. I think it's perfectly okay as it is. It's the same thing with Attack Whistle. Purgation Talisman is garbage, but the only way I could change it is give it armor piercing melee skills, but if I do that, I feel like it has a bit too much on it. It's still probably not a great trinket, but then Bonk Vestal? Is it too strong for the Bonk Vestal? Plus 20% armor piercing melee skills. Maybe I should tune down those damage values if I want to do that. Yeah, I'm gonna tune down that damage from 25 to 20, and I'm gonna tune down the crit from 7 to 6. And I'm gonna make it a half plus 20% armor piercing melee skills. It's still gonna be a hell of a lot better, because the armor piercing Purgation Talisman is actually gonna be kind of scary, but it's not gonna feel broken with all that plus damage. Idol of Purity is not getting any changes, perfectly okay trinket. It's basically Silver Syringe better. It has minus healing skills, and that actually does do a change. Instead of getting like plus like 5 max HP healing, you only get like +4. So it can definitely make a difference, but honestly, just don't bother. The Gleaming Breastplate is definitely getting changed. It's kind of a sorry trinket at the moment. What I would do with it is make the crits receive chance -10. So it is gonna make a massive difference, and also Death Resistance make it +10. -10% crits receive chance basically means you're not gonna eat any crits from AoE abilities, which is just brutal. You're basically never gonna get crit by the AoEs. And Arbalists are gonna have a less of a chance of actually getting you down to 0, and even if they do bring you down to 0, well, you should be able to heal yourself. And you also have a little bit of death resistance, so this trinket is going to be kind of like full-on anti-DOT, which is what the Vestal has trouble with already, because usually you bring Vestal in a stun team like Silex Special, so double stun team with marks, And what she has trouble with is just getting hit with all these AoEs. She usually beats other Mark teams, so having this as a possibility, like bringing these two together, would maybe make your matchups a little bit better instead of bringing Brass Knuckles. You probably have enough stun chance already. Tome of Fury is not getting any nerfs. This is literally the reason that Vestal is actually playable. Some people still think she's trash. I don't think she's trash at all. I think Vestal is a pretty okay character. It's a pretty okay stun character, not in any other way. She's also a really good healer, but you know, she gets pulled, and other than that, she doesn't really do too much. Sacrificial Chris is not getting any buffs, even though it's kind of a bad playstyle. Occultist with damage can be kind of good, so I won't do any changes. Hand of Glory is definitely getting changes. I'm gonna change Hand of Glory to have the plus 15 accuracy range skills, and the Fleshbound Grimoire is going to lose that plus 15 accuracy. So Fleshbound Grimoire is getting a massive nerf, because I think it's a bit too strong at the moment, and it's going to go to the Hand of Glory. So if you want to run them both together, then sure, it's still going to be the exact same, but you're not going to run Fleshbound Grimoire over Hand of Glory every single match from now on, because that's literally what was happening. So there's that. Culling Salts is definitely getting a slight buff. It's getting plus 8 crit for those range skills. That's going to be a big change. And I'm not quite sure how much I want to change its damage versus marked, because Calling Salts is kind of a bad trinket, but I would give it plus 4 crit versus marked, even though it's probably not going to change too much. I don't want to buff it that much, because then Abyssal Artillery, like if a character marks themselves for some bizarre reason, Abyssal Artillery is just going to do way too much, because that crit on Abyssal Artillery is so hurtful. It does extra stress on impact, it does extra horror. It's really bad. It's really bad when you get hit with it, so I don't want to overbuff it. I already went over Fool's Idol, but I am gonna go over it again because people suggested other stuff. Let me just have a look at what you actually wrote down in the comments again. Alright, for the Fool's Idol there were a lot of suggestions on how to change it differently from how I changed it, and I think the best one actually goes to Goodnight Yoshi. They actually posted it in the Discord server, and the idea they had was, instead of its downside being the death blow resistance, you just strap that completely and just make this give you plus bleed skill chance on the occultist, and also reduce the target's bleed resistance. So unfriendly skill minus 20% bleed res, and bleed skill chance plus 20% chance. So you're gonna bleed the character health a lot more. Other characters like on the enemy team are going to bleed your character health a lot more, but you do get that sustainability and that confirmed heal with the Fool's Idol. So I think if you would do that, it would easily become a B+ tier trinket, because that certainty on it definitely feels quite great. And the plus bleed is definitely bad, but against the Crusader it shouldn't really matter too much on the direct heal, and as long as you're not playing against a lot of bleeds, you should be okay with it. So I think that would be a really nice change. So in terms of Sturdy Balcal, it's not going to get any changed. I think it's a perfectly okay trinket. It is kind of a weird one to run, because you want to have you want to be using Parrying Dagger, and you know, getting hit, but it's still pretty good. It's just well defensive, and I don't think it needs any changes. It's kind of what stats that you want, including that stun resistance. Just feels great. Powder Flask is the exact opposite. Reducing that stun resistance, it doesn't feel great. And your range skills, basically the only ability with range skills that's any good on the Iron Man is the point blank shot, but you're probably not going to be using point blank shot with this, because the plus damage is good, but the plus accuracy probably doesn't change too much. This is a really good grape shot trinket, just to deal damage, not to deal stress. I'd say that Grim Bandana is a much better grape shot trinket, but this one with that stun resistance just feels really sad to play. What I would do with it is I would tune down the accuracy a bit to plus 12, so it doesn't feel like kind of as powerful, doesn't feel like Crown of Thorns levels of accuracy, but I would just remove the stun resist debuff, because at the moment it's just way too much. You go down to 0, and Harman already has bad stun resistance, so going down to 0 is just atrocious. It really is. Honestly, you could make it minus 5% stun resistance, and keep the 15 accuracy. That would probably be a better change. Just minus 5% stun resistance, so it's actually still there. It would still hurt a bit, definitely, going down to 15. So I think that would be okay. Just giving it at 15 accuracy and then minus 5% stun resistance would be fine, because it needs buffs, this trinket. It's just not as good as you'd think for the grape shot. The accuracy helps, but you're probably better off just running even like Eagle Eye Talisman. It doesn't give you as much accuracy, but it's going to help your riposte as well, so there's that. Parrying Dagger is a perfectly fine trinket. One of the changes that people actually suggest is making it increase your riposte duration, but that would be just way too strong. I think that is perfectly okay with this, doesn't need any buffs. Synergizes really well with Open Vein, just let it stay as it is. Grim Bandana isn't getting any changes either because I think it's a really nice trinket. That damage, crit and stress style just works perfectly on the high end, and the pulse stress taken is annoying, but it makes sense. It's the Grim Bandana. The Duelist Pistol is definitely getting a buff, absolutely. It currently doesn't feel quite as good as you'd think for the point blank shot. If you want to do a lot of damage with point blank shot, you bring Eli Talisman and Grim Bandana. You don't bring Duelist Pistol. Duelist Pistol is just stupid. Plus damage range skills, great. Plus crit, okay. Plus move skill chance, quite good. Plus 10 accuracy in position 1, But point blank shot already has a lot of plus damage. If you want to change this out, you have to make it so you have like plus 15% damage in position 1. Actually, I'd make it plus 20% damage in position 1, but then remove the plus damage range skills, so it would actually make your riposte really good if you're in position 1, so that would be crazy, and it would make your other damage abilities quite good if you're in position 1 as well, but if you're not in position 1, which is what's gonna happen most likely, it's not gonna feel even near as good, but you're also gonna do way more damage with the point blank shot, so it would be a big buff. I think it would make this strength go up to probably like B-, maybe even B+. Highman definitely wants a few buffs, he could like them. We've already changed Infamous Visage, it's on hit, inflict stress plus 15, and I think that I buffed the other stats just a little bit, or no, probably didn't. That seems like a big enough buff. Heartseeker not gonna get any change, I think it's perfectly okay as it is. It just suffers from not having accuracy, and it suffers from the fact that you want grappling mids, but it doesn't need any more damage. That plus 25% damage melee skills hurts like crazy, so I don't want it to have any sort of buffs. Plus Death Without Chance feels really good as well. Bounty Notice definitely needs a buff. The damage needs to go up to 25, and the accuracy needs to go up to 12, and the crit needs to go up to 6. With that, your collect bounty is actually going to hurt like crazy. It's going to be more accurate, and it's going to get more crits. It's going to be more on Arbalest level, which is exactly what this needs if you do want to run it. I still don't think it would be a great trinket, but it would be playable, so I would just do that. Collect bounty definitely has some uses, it's just quite rare. And with that, 25 damage, 12 accuracy, and 6 crits, yeah, it's gonna hurt, because Collect Bounty already has 90% damage versus marked, so it is definitely gonna be on the crazy side with the Bounty Notice. The Veteran's Gauntlet base days chance should go up by 20. I really don't like that 50%, I think that it's too unreliable to make use of, especially considering what the Man at Arms wants to bring, because he wants to bring like so many freaking trinkets. So I would just increase that by a bit, it would make this trinket feel a hell of a lot better. Survivor's Eye Patch is kind of a weird one, because it has plus healing received while guarding, I had no idea. That's how much I don't look at this trinket, I didn't even know it had healing received when guarding. That is actually quite surprising. Well, since that's what the trinket's actually here to do, I guess, I would give it plus 30% healing received while guarding. I think that would make it okay. It still wouldn't be great, far from it. 12 dodge on the Man at Arms probably isn't going to change too much. If you don't run Numbing Instance and if you run Bolster, then yeah, he's going to have a bit of dodge, but it's not like he buffs up his own dodge with the guard. He's here to tank hits, he's not here to dodge them. But yeah, plus 30% healing received when guarding would make it better. Still not a great trinket, but you can't really buff up the dodge too much, or else it just feels cheap, in my opinion. Shield Spike is not going to get any changes, I think it's a really good trinket. It doesn't matter that the Under-Repulse Bleed is only 100 instead of 120, and that's just like a plus. The trinket would be okay without it. It's a really, really good trinket. It makes your repulse go from trash, like basically just to confirm Death Sword checks, because it just tickles, but tickles can kill, to make it actually hurt like crazy, hurt it almost as much as a high mana pulse, and you get a lot of crits with it, you get a whole lot of crits with it actually, so the bleed chance is actually gonna get increased, so I'd say that this is a perfectly okay trinket. Protector's Kite, not gonna get any changes, it's not great, but it gives you a lot of HP, gives you a bit of protection, card duration, just, it does what it's supposed to do, so it's gonna stay where it is. Same thing with Insignia of Rank, it's an okay trinket, really good for the retribution, also synergizes well with Veteran's Gauntlet, so we could see that come into effect. We've already done the flagell changes, so I'm not gonna change any of them again. I think that's perfectly okay. I will go over some changes right now that I forgot, just in case I forget them. I want to reduce the Hellions damage from 8 to 17 to 8 to 15, because I think her crit chance is gonna be way too big, and I want to reduce the Adrenaline Rush from the revenge kind of like that it is, from 11 crit. I want to reduce it to 9, because if I don't, it's just going to be way too strong. She's going to have way too much crit chance. I think I definitely overbuffed the Hellion to the point where she wouldn't be completely broken, but she would be really unfun to play against if you don't have a way of countering her. So I definitely want to make her crits hurt a little bit less, and I want to make her crit a little bit less as well. And that would make her balanced. Another change I want to do is I made the Plague Doctor's Disorienting Blast hit position 1, which some people were really annoyed about because, oh no, the Leper, poor guy. No, the Leper now has a way of moving forward, and even with this, your chance isn't really guaranteed, and you could just move to position 2 at the same time, and if you do run Snuff on the Leper, then you're still likely to resist the move. So what I want to do to change it anyway, because I think it's a little bit too strong, is I want to move the Disorienting Blast from being all positions against all positions to positions 1, 2, 3 against all positions. So you can't have your Plague Doctor in position 4 and still use it, so you can't have your Cake and Eat It. I think that's a lot better. Even before that comment was written down, I actually just looked over at this and I thought, wait, no way I did that. It's way too broken. Now even if she gets pulled, she can still Disorienting Blast, she can still heal herself. I think that was definitely an overbuff. So I want her to be in position 3, so at the very least you can pull her out of healing skills, or you can focus her down a little bit better if she does actually want to use that Disorienting Blast. I think that's going to be perfectly okay, because she was definitely a bit overbuffed, I think, on those two trinkets. Alright, back to where we were. We were on the Crusader right now. Rite of Execution, definitely not going to get any changes, perfectly okay as it is. Sacred Blade's a bit on the strong side. Some people are going to agree with that, but once again, my rework philosophy is to buff the weak stuff and nerf the strong ones. I would say that the Flagellant one was kind of a nerf, but at the same time it was a rework. It had buffs and nerfs. I think he's just a more dynamic character now. So, do I want to change Sacred Blade? The Virtue Chant, you know what I would do? I would change Virtues instead of changing Sacred Blade. I would make Courageous either not exist, because that's what I really want. I want Courageous to disappear, because that's really the worst thing that could happen. Sacred Blade's really good, but it only feels extremely oppressive when you go against Courageous, because you're probably running a stress team, and if you go against Courageous, just I'm not going to get into it. I've done this rant like 5 times. So yeah, either remove Courageous or make Courageous a hell of a lot weaker, but that's kind of like just virtue statistics, so I'm not going to do that right now. Sacred Blade's not going to get any changes. Cordia Standard, perfectly okay as it is, really nice trinkets, no changes either. Battle Scarred Helm should have damage reflection, and that's really crazy, but it should have a 20% damage reflection. I'm still not sure if people are okay with this damage reflection thing. I didn't really see too many comments on the damage reflection I actually did, which was on... what was on the damage reflection actually? I did the Black Diamond Mirror just now, but I added 30 to something, and I can't really remember what I added 30 to. Well, that's interesting that I can't remember. But yeah, I added 30% damage reflection to something, and people didn't really seem to comment too much on it. So I guess it's okay. And I will give the Crusader 20% damage reflection on this, and I still think it would be a pretty weird trinket, not too great, because you're kind of supposed to be on the offense with the Crusader, not on the defense. So if you're getting stunned, I mean, sure, you're gonna hit back a bit, but you're better off stunning than getting stunned. So it would be better, but it still wouldn't be great. But I would say that it would make Battle Scarred Helm go from B- to at least B+, with 20% damage reflection, like at least B+. Keep in mind that damage reflection only works on damage that you actually take, so if you're at 1 HP and get hit for a crit for 40, you're not gonna do 8 damage back, you're gonna do 1 damage back, so there's that. Regis Cloak isn't going to get any changes. I think it's a really good trinket, and nerfing it would make Stress A-Bomb maybe a little bit too weak. I think that it's a trinket that you always take, so... on Stress A-Bomb at the very least. There's reasons why you wouldn't take it. Yeah, there's reasons why you wouldn't take it. Like in the Immortal teams and in Damage A-Bomb teams, you definitely wouldn't take this, so it's not like a Flash on Cult of Absolution. I don't think it needs any changes. Taste of Grandeur definitely needs a buff. At the moment it just feels sad. I would buff the Virtue Chance up to 30 just so it feels a little bit more Crusader-like. And I would buff the damage up to 15%, but I would make it just melee skills, and I will buff the accuracy to +5. I think that would be okay. It would make transformation A-bomb a lot better. Some people use this on B-Spy, which is just weird. I think this is a damage A-bomb thing. So plus 15% damage melee skills would make it feel a lot better, and +5 accuracy for the rage would be good as well. The Virtue Chance, getting a slight increase on it is quite good, because unlike the Sacred Blade, you're almost always going to get a Virtue check on the Taste of Grandeur Abomination, because he stressed himself out. Unless you die early, but you know, that could always happen. So with a bit more Virtue, it would be quite good. And also with the new Nepenthe, you could run both of them together, and you'd have 60 Virtue chances, also a little bit extra max HP, so it would be quite nice. Spike Chain, not gonna get any changes. I think it's a perfectly okay trinket. It has a little bit less stun chance because of its other advantages, so I think that it really doesn't deserve any changes. Shattered Padlock is quite good. I think that it's a really nice trinket, but it isn't overpowered. It doesn't need changes. I think it's just gonna stay as is. Grasp of the Beast definitely wants a buff. It just feels a little bit sad at the moment, the way it is. But what kind of buff would I give to this? Honestly, -3% crits received would be okay. Another minus crits received trinkets. It just feels like if you would see someone with like this very terrifying clasp, you'd probably not go for the killing blow, you'd just go for a hit. So you wouldn't overexpose yourself because it's just so terrifying. So -3% crits received. That's kind of like the idea behind the Gleaming Blastblade, is that it's gleaming, so you can't really aim at it too well. I think that's the idea. Not aim at it too well in terms of dodge, because you definitely know where it is, but you don't know where the crit spot is. I think that's the idea behind it. So -3% crits received would make Class of the Beast gang feel a hell of a lot better, because it's definitely not a B+ tier trinket. It's like B- at best at the moment. Though with that, it would go up to B+. We've already done the Hellion changes. I'm perfectly okay with them, with the slight nerf that I just gave her. The Viper Spear Tip, oh boy, Shieldbreaker trinkets, yeah, this is gonna be a fun one. The Viper Spear Tip is good as is. It's just that the problem with Shieldbreaker trinkets is that you always want to take Graceful Anklet Monkey Spot. That's really the biggest problem with her. So I'm gonna have to figure out how the hell I'm gonna change the Shieldbreaker, because she's just a really weird character at the moment. So how am I gonna do that? So one idea is to make Serpent Sway a permanent dodge buff, but make it only one use. So you would be able to go up in dodge permanently, so that would be quite good. Another idea is to make a Graceful Anklet have only 10 dodge, but let's actually not go off of ideas and go off of what we actually want to do. But yeah, I think that Serpent Sway making it one use and giving it +15 dodge permanent would be better than what it is right now, because at the moment it's either really oppressive to play against, because you can't focus her down. She's just gonna go Serpent Sway once, and she's already unkillable, and then she's gonna go Serpent Sway twice if you do still try killing her. At that point, you've wasted so many actions and so much time that you're gonna lose. And you have to focus her down, because some teams just don't work because of Puncture. Puncture is just broken. This is because, Plague Doctor, Cultists, Guard Breaks, BS. Absolute BS. How am I gonna change Puncture? Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. So, in terms of Viper Spear Tip, I don't think it needs any changes. Maybe +12 accuracy. Yeah, I would go with +12 accuracy, so it's a bit more like Volatile Concoction. She really wants accuracy, because her accuracy abilities for Blight are just garbage. She's at 80, 90, and 85, like that's horrible. The reason you don't feel it quite as much is because she's always paired up with a Jester. So, or like almost always paired up with a Jester. Some teams bring her in marks, and in those teams you're not going to use those because you just don't have the accuracy to use them. But yeah, Viper Spear Tip could go up in accuracy by just a little bit. So up to 12. The Scaled Shoulder needs a massive buff, because at the moment this is probably one of the worst trinkets in the Circus. J-Man tried using it and said, no my brother, it sucks, don't use it. Because what it does is, it gives you 5 prot on the Shieldbreaker, which, okay, nice. It gives you 10 max HP, which is 3 HP. So that's basically not there, and it gives you 12 death blow resistance, which we all know is basically not there as well. You're so much better off bringing dodge than bringing this garbage. With dodge, you get dodge and accuracy, by the way, so this is just a horrible trinket. What I would do with it is Skilled Shoulder. I think that giving it bleed resistance would be cool, giving it plus 20% bleed resistance and making the max HP go from 10 to 15. So it would actually give you 5 HP, and if you want to, you can run this with the new Bloodstained Gambeson, or run it with the new gladiator helm, and it would actually stack up quite a bit, and you'd actually be almost immune to bleeds. You'd be more resistant to bleeds than the Crusader with Scaled Shoulder and Bloodstained Gamazon, which does make sense. I mean, you have leather armor, and on top you have a Scaled Shoulder, so I imagine those scales would work, so yeah. I think that with that, this trinket would be a little bit better, especially considering the changes I'm about to do to Graceful Anklet. Poor trinket. So what I'm gonna do to Graceful Anklet is, I feel like this trinket would like speed, but you know, there's no speed in the Circus, so what I would do to it is that I would most likely I'll just make it actually give me a second. Okay, I've just had a look at the document that Jane Moon did, and I did actually do some of my own suggestions, so some of them have landed up on there, but in terms of the shield breaker, she's getting a big change on the Graceful Anklet. This is something that I just came up with, and she's gonna go down in terms of dodge. It's gonna go down to 8 dodge, but the accuracy is going to go up to 8, and she's also going to have 15% move skill chance on it. So it's essentially going to be kind of like a net, but also still giving her a little bit of accuracy, while also not being quite as good as a net, so the move chance isn't going to be quite as good. If you're afraid of Puncture being too OP, I'm definitely going to do some changes on the shield breaker. The Fang Talisman is going to stay the exact same, but that's because her blight abilities are getting a slight buff. So the shield breaker is going to lose her move resistance. She's going to go from 35 to 5, because I don't think having move resistance on her makes any sense at all. And her stun resistance is going to go from 10 to 25, so she's going to have abomination level of stun rest, so running the Scaled Shoulder feels a little bit better. Her base dodge is going to stay as is, and the changes that are going to happen to her abilities are the following. So Pierce is gonna have damage mod 0%, so it's gonna have the base damage, because at the moment she does not have any ability that actually has the base damage, so that's kind of weird. But yeah, she's gonna be able to do 8 to 15 with it now, and Puncture is gonna have essentially minus 100% move skill chance versus guarded. So the idea behind it is that you can't break guards and pull at the same time, because at the moment this makes guarding completely useless. So if you have Protector's Kite, and if you have Padded Arm Guard, if you want to keep your other characters like the Plague Doctor away from the positions 1 and 2, you can't. There's literally nothing you can do. She's just extremely annoying to play against. So at the very least, if you make it so she can break the guards at the back, but can't pull while they are guarded, Puncture is going to feel a little bit less like of an ability that you're always going to take, and more of an ability that, you know, still feels good once you do actually bring, because you can break the guard break debuff is applied, and then next round if you still want to do it, you can still go for the Puncture again, and the character will be pulled to the front. So that's going to feel a heck of a lot better. And in terms of the accuracy of the abilities, the Captivate is going to go up to 90, because at the moment it's a little too low. There's really no reason why this should be at 80, it's kind of insane. And considering I've already given Viper Spirit an extra 2 accuracy, and the Graceful Anklet a little extra more, if you do want to run those, you'll have way too much accuracy, so I'm not going to give the other abilities more accuracy than that. Fang Talisman can stay what it is. It actually hurts a lot against blighted characters, so if you go like Adder's Kiss, Pierce, with the damage mod being 0 now, it's gonna be kind of on the insane side. And of course, Serpent Sway is getting the changes we've already discussed. So there's that. And also her bleed resistance, I feel like is gonna be a bit too high with the new Scaled Shoulder, so it's gonna go up to 20, and that's gonna be 55. 55 just feels a bit too much. I would tune this down by 10 and add those 10 onto the blight resistance, because it doesn't really make too much sense. She only has 10 blight res, so she would go up to 25, and with the trinket she would go up to 45, which is really nice amount. So there's that, and we've almost finished off with the trinkets. Actually, there's still the leper here, and some of you might think, well, he's already done the leper, but yes, I'm gonna do some extra changes. This one has been changed already. Invigorating Balm is now gonna give you minus 6% crits received as well, so minus 6 might be a bit much actually. It's gonna do minus 4% crits received, so it's gonna feel like a very nice defensive trinket to bring on the leper, I would say. And the Gladiator Mask is going to go up to plus 4% crit, so it's not weaker than Hunter's Charm. I still haven't thought about giving it anything new. And the durable arm mod is going to get plus 15% debuff skill chance, so it is going to be better for that intimidate, but it's not going to be just a full-on better eerie eye. So if you do want to have the maximum debuff skill chance, you could run both of them if you want, or you could run just eerie eye. But the max HP is quite good to run. So, in terms of the trinkets, that is everything. In terms of the characters, there are some changes to be done in case I do want to make them. So first things first, we're gonna go left to right, and here goes the Highman. Now, the Highman's an okay character, but he has some abilities that are absolute stinkers. Those abilities are Pistol Shot and, to an extent, Open Vein. Open Vein is okay, though. I'm not sure if I would want Open Vein to be that much stronger. I think that just increasing the crit mod to 6 would make it okay. And the Pistol Shot really needs a big buff. So the problem with Pistol Shot at the moment is that even against marked characters, it just doesn't do... it literally does less damage than Arbalest against characters that aren't marked. So it needs a massive buff. Like, it's unbelievable how bad this thing actually is. I think that to make it any good, because if you look at it, Highman has less base damage than the Arbalest, right? He has a little bit less. And Pistol Shot gives you minus 15% damage mod and 90 accuracy. This gives you 110 accuracy and plus 25% damage mod. It's unbelievable, honestly. Pistol Shot is just absolutely horrible. Sure, you can use it from position 2 as well. And sure, you can also have Repulse, so it shouldn't be as strong as the ultimate shooter, but it shouldn't be this weak. It shouldn't be weak to the point where you're never gonna run it. So I've actually given it some thought, and I think that Powder Flask could actually have some synergy with it. So I'm gonna give it plus 15% damage versus marked, and I'm gonna increase the damage on Pistol Shot to damage mod 0. So it's gonna be a little bit better, and with the plus 15% damage versus marked, you're basically gonna get plus 30% damage, and I'm also gonna increase the accuracy to 95. So you're gonna be on par with the Arbalest if you have 95 plus 15, so you're gonna have 110 accuracy, and you're gonna have essentially plus 30% damage compared to now, so you're essentially gonna have a little bit closer to the sniper shot. You're still not gonna have armor piercing, you're still gonna miss out on a lot of stuff, but it's definitely gonna feel like a hell of a lot better than what it is right now. But you're still gonna have to run Powder Flask for it, which it's just not a great trinket. But it's gonna hurt. It's definitely gonna hurt. It's gonna feel a hell of a lot better. Maybe a little bit too much, considering I just gave it plus 30% damage with this, and this already gives you plus damage for range skills. But did I overbuff it? Did I overbuff it? That is always the question once you do these changes, because this is such a bad trinket. This is just a bad ability that if you do buff it a little bit too much, that might just be a little bit too much. Let me actually do the math. So it's 7 to 14. With this, it's plus 20 plus 15, so plus 35, and plus. So it's basically like double damage. So you'd be doing like 15 to 28. The Arbalest does more. She has more crit chance. You'd have 110 accuracy. I still feel like 15 to 28 is a bit too much for this. So I would reduce the damage mod to 0, but also reduce the damage versus marked on this from 70 to 50, and then it would be balanced. So it's a little bit of a better ability to bring, because keep in mind that you can't really be as strong as an Arbalest shooting, because you also have to repulse. At the same time, Arbalest has heals and flares. But yeah, I still think that it shouldn't be that much stronger, so just make its damage mod a little bit better, and this trinket is going to be a hell of a lot better for that, because it's going to give you plus 35% damage for the marks. If you do want to actually mark a character and use grape shots on it, so that's going to be pretty fun too. The other abilities aren't going to get any changes apart from a little bit of crit mod here, and these aren't going to get any changes either. I don't think he needs them. So Hellion, we've already gone over. Grave Robber definitely needs some changes. Thrown Dagger is kind of meh. The problem with it is that it actually hurts more than the Pistol Shot, and it does actually have really good accuracy, but she doesn't have armor piercing for it, so it feels like she's kind of lacking on the damage. But let's keep in mind I did buff the Stiletto, so now on friendly skill it's gonna have plus damage and plus crit versus ranged. So should it be that much better? I would give it plus 5% crit versus marked, so it crits a little bit more. I think that would be perfectly okay here. It also has more positions to use from, so that's good. In terms of the other trinkets and abilities, I really wouldn't do any changes. All her abilities kind of have a purpose, apart from Throne Dagger. It just feels kind of weak, but the new trinkets, it would feel a lot better. I think that in terms of everything else, she doesn't really need any changes. Yeah, she's overall an okay character. In terms of Vestal, we have already changed her trinkets a bit. I don't think her abilities actually need any changes at the moment, so I would just keep her as she is. I think she's okay. We've already changed out to Shieldbreaker a bit. Plague Doctor has been fully reworked. Man-at-Arms is a big one, because I've changed... I'm not sure if I even changed his trinkets. I definitely changed Veteran's Gauntlet, so that's gonna make Retribution feel a bit better, and also the Rampart, kind of. But Crush is still horrible, and just doesn't have a place. It really doesn't have a place, and that's a big problem with it. Rampart does have a place. It's very small, but it does have a place in the meta. It's knocking back Jesters and also being annoying. It can definitely be quite good. What I would do with it is actually increase the accuracy to 120, because when this misses, it just feels atrocious. So I would actually make the accuracy 120. I think that would be fair. Is it shouldn't miss as much as it does, because it really doesn't do too much impact. It should have a lot of accuracy, kind of like the Come Hither has a lot of accuracy. I think it should stay at, it should go up to 120. It's definitely big, but it should be the thing. And also, if you go solo, you can still counter it, because you'll be in position 1, so it's okay. But Crush needs a big buff. To buff Crush, I can't just give it like, oh, you know, you need a big buff, just give it 20 damage mod, it'll be okay. I mean, yeah, sure, that's gonna help, but you have to look at it in a way that you actually look at the teams that could bring this, and look at the playstyles that could fit it. And Damaged Man-at-Arms at the moment is in a really rough spot, because you do have the riposte, but if they don't hit into it, it's literally gonna do almost nothing. It can get Death Sword checks, but it just doesn't do the amount of damage that you need. So how I would change Crush is I would make it usable from positions 3, which would be quite good. Is Rampart usable from position 4? No, it isn't, so I would make it usable from position 4. I think that would be okay. Maybe make it not usable from position 1. That might be a bit much. So yeah, make it usable from position 4. Rampart's going to be a really nice ability. And then to make Damage Man-at-Arms better, Crush needs to go up to position 3. The accuracy needs to go up to 95, so it can hit a little bit more reliably. He should run accuracy trinkets, so at the 95 it's going to be quite accurate. And the damage mod on it definitely needs to go up. Some people are going to be like, no, Sharp, you're going to have a character that doesn't have the correct damage mod. I can't increase his base damage, because then Retribution would be too strong with Shield Spike. So what I would do is I would give this it does 6 to 13 right now. I wanted to have pierce damage. I think that would be the best thing. So to make it go up to 8 to 15, it needs like a 15% damage mod on it. So I would give it 15% damage mod. The debuff for minus prot, it's just such a weird one. Should it debuff more? I don't think so. It's just a really weird trinket to bring. Maybe Crush should guard break, or apply the guard break debuff. Not break the guard, but apply the guard break debuff. That would actually make it quite viable. Maybe a little bit too viable. So, you know what I will do? I'll give, since your Veteran's Gauntlet is actually good now, I would give Crush no damage mod, but 95 accuracy, and apply the guard break debuff, which would be crazy. So it wouldn't break guard, but it would apply can't be guarded. So that would make it so you can't guard a character after you hit them with Crush, unless you clear the debuff or you act twice with that character. So Crush Man-at-Arms would kind of replace the Abomination in damage teams, for example, so you'd have a Man-at-Arms WD. And it would be really kind of nutty, because you can daze a character and break their guard at the same time. I mean, not break the guard, but you can guard break them. No, you can apply the guard break debuff. Jesus Christ, that's so difficult to say. And yeah, that's it for the Man-at-Arms. In terms of the Occultist, I think we've already changed out the trinkets a bit, so he feels a little bit better. I think Vulnerability Hex is kind of a sad one, because if you want to run Mark Occultist, you're probably going to run Sacrificial Stab. You're probably actually going to run both of them. It just feels weird. I think that what it could have is, well, I've already buffed Hand of Glory quite a bit. What's the debuff chance on it, actually? Is it 30? Okay, it is 30. So with the plus 15 accuracy, this one is actually gonna have 125 accuracy, which is good. It is good. It's still not great. Would I give it a little bit of extra? I'll give Vulnerability Hex the damage mod, I'm gonna change it from minus 90 to minus 80. So it still doesn't do as much damage as Weakening Curse, but now it's on par with Hound's Area and Festering Vapor, so it's not gonna do 0 damage all the freaking time, because that's annoying. And I would buff the accuracy up to 115, so it feels like it's a little bit different from Weakening Curse, because you want to debuff dodge with it, and at the moment the problem is that if you're probably going to run like Hand of Glory Monkey Swap, then you're not going to have enough accuracy, so you kind of need to run Fleshbound Grimoire, but you're not going to make use of the horror because you're trying to mark people. But with the new Hand of Glory, it's going to feel a hell of a lot better. So it's, with the plus 15 accuracy, you'd actually go up to 130, so this is a massive finger to the a massive middle finger to the dodge characters, and I think that's cool because the cultist mark isn't seen even near enough. In terms of Leper, we've already gone over him. In terms of Crusader needs some big changes. He's really way too strong, especially with those stuns. I think that the biggest problem with them is the crit mod. It just stuns are strong, right? People think stuns are stronger than they are. That's my opinion. I think they're strong, but I don't think they're that overpowered. I think that I would nerf the crit mod, because getting crits on it is definitely annoying. So I nerf the crit mod down to 2, so it wouldn't crit even near as much. It would have 9% crit chance instead of 11, so it would go down by like 20% crit chance essentially. And the Smite definitely needs a buff, but we'll go over that in a second. Zealous is fine, Bulwark is fine. Rally to the Flame is a bit on the strong side, but it's just gonna have to stay as it is. Inspiring Cry could use a buff, but at the same time it's already quite strong, so I don't really think so. I think Holy Lance crit chance could be reduced, because at the moment it's a little bit too strong. I would bring it down to 8, so Holy Lance crits don't win a match, because that's literally what happens. If you push a Crusader to the back in a damage versus damage matchup, if you're unlucky enough to get hit by a Holy Lance crit, you essentially have like a 5% chance of winning the match at that point. It's just too much, because next hit is going to bring you down to 0, so you just lose way too much tempo on it. So Holy Lance crit's chance should go down from 10.5 to 8, and the Smite, because the Smite is kind of the same as Holy Lance if you think about it, but it just doesn't reposition you. So I think that Smite could use a buff, but at the same time, could it? Because then it could be a little bit too strong. I think that I would buff the accuracy up to 95, so it at least feels a little bit better than Rage, because Rage doesn't hit, but you know, it's an abomination that's raging at you, so it wouldn't be easy to dodge, but it would be easier to dodge than a trained swordsman or a trained crusader. So I think it should go up to 95 accuracy, and I'll be okay with it. Yeah, I think that's it for the Crusader. He is very tanky, for sure. He is definitely very tanky, but with the buffs that we've given the other characters, he should feel a little bit better to play against. We've already changed out the Flagellant, and I've got to change out the Arbalest, which is basically the highlight of this video. Especially for some people, because the Arbalest is way too OP. We're over 1 hour already, so that's fun. But how I would change the Arbalest is, first off, I'm gonna buff her. That's funny, right? Yeah, I'm gonna change Blind Fire from accuracy base 80 to like 100. Same thing with the quick draw. There's no reason why they should have 80 accuracy. That's just atrocious. So I would buff those, both of those to plus 20, and it bypasses stealth against. Yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird one, but I think that buffing it up to 100 would still be useless as an ability, but it could de-stealth. So in case you're really lucky, you're gonna de-stealth. I think that's the only reason why I would bring it. And on the Musketeer, you would have, I'm gonna remove the damage mod minus 10, because I think that's stupid. And at the very least, if you're the last character alive and you're in a 1v1, that maybe you could use it, but there's really no reason why you wouldn't bring Buckshot. So I'm just gonna be a little bit on the fence about those. So Sniper Shot is not gonna get any changes. What I am gonna do is, I don't want to nerf the big characters too much, because I'm already buffing the weak ones. So what I am gonna do about the Arbalest, also we have Bianca Interference, not sure if you've noticed, but what I am gonna do about her is I'm gonna change the crit mod from plus 33% damage versus marked, which is just ridiculous, because you get a crit, you're lucky, and even if it wasn't enough, or if it was enough and now you need to shoot again, you're gonna do even more damage without needing a crit. It is ridiculous. That should 100% not happen. I think that instead of that, she should get a buff like plus... If I give her plus 15% prot, that's also going to be kind of ridiculous, because unless it's an Arbalest shooting at her, she's going to be even more difficult to kill than what she is already, because she has 38 dodge even though she's a backliner, so that's fun. But yeah, what I would do is I would change her crit mod from 33% damage versus marked to maybe actually plus 25% healing skills. So I think that's going to be a big change to both the Arbalist and the Musketeer, so they're going to be a little bit more supportive. So plus 25% healing skills is like the Vestals and the Occultists. So she's going to be able to heal for a little bit more after she gets a crit. That could be useful if you go like to position 2, you bowl and then you want to use Battlefield Bandage. It's going to be very useful in Support Arbalist. Support Arbalist at the moment doesn't have really a use for that crit chance, or you know, for the damage on against marked after a crit, so I think that plus healing skills would actually fit both characters really well. So I'm gonna be okay with that. I don't think Suppressing Fire needs too many buffs, apart from that crit mod being just a little bit too punishing. Like -6 crit mod on both is just a bit too much. I would change it to -1 crit mod, so your crit chance is like 9%. You basically never see Smokescreen and Suppressing Fire crit, and you might ask, is that for a good reason or is it for... or is it just saddening? Because these abilities are good, but they're not that good. I mean, -20 crit and -20 accuracy definitely feels great, but on like Stress Musketeer and Stress Arbalist aren't the full-on meta, especially Stress Musketeer. So I think that just giving it +5 crit mod essentially, you know, by reducing it to -1% would be perfectly okay on both of these. I want to change Sniper's Mark. I really want to change Sniper's Mark. I want it to have to be usable from position 2 as well, because at the moment it just feels stupid that you can't even use it. Like, you can't point your finger at the character because you're too close. Like, come on. Well, I mean, by that logic, it should also work in position 1, but I think that at the very least giving it position 2 makes more sense, because if you look at the other markers, you have... Oh no, you know what? I'm gonna change to all positions against all positions. If you want to run support Arbalist and bring damage bounty hunter, then sure, let's have a change in the meta. I think that it just doesn't make sense that you wouldn't be able to use it. I already hate bringing these abilities because they have only 100% debuff base, and that sucks because you need to run more debuff skill chance if you actually want to apply those debuffs reliably, and of course the characters that actually have a lot of dodge have a lot of debuff chance, or debuff resist, so there's not a lot of chance of debuffing them. But if you do run the correct trinket, which is the weight bolus, your debuff chance does go up for quite a bit. So it could make sense if you want to run a support Arbalist or a support Musketeer, and if you want to mark with them, I think that would be perfectly okay. It's not going to buff them as shooters, because if you're in position 2, you're not going to mark. You're not going to be like, oh, I wish I could mark right now. No, you're never going to do that. You're going to be like, oh, I wish I had snuff so I could move back, or no, I wish I had snuff so I hadn't moved forward, or I wish I just had bullet/buckshot so I could just yeet myself back, or just move back twice. So a bullet and buckshot are going to stay the same. They're really strong abilities. I'm gonna nerf they're not gonna stay the same. I'm gonna nerf their crit mod by 2%. I feel like with Piercing Coral they just crit a little bit too much, and that extra crit chance on the bullet can be somewhat game breaking, because you would expect Sniper Shot to deal a lot of damage. You wouldn't expect bullet to deal that much, because it's her weak ability, right? So I would make the crit mod go from 6 to 4, so at least it doesn't feel quite as oppressive. Same, you know, it's essentially the same changes I'm doing to the Crusader. Blind Fire, once again. These abilities, like, what were they thinking making this? Because Sniper Shot has more accuracy, way more damage, there's just no reason you'd use this. Bypass stealth versus with random targets. Why would you ever use this ability? I mean, I guess it's a good ability to disrespect your opponent if you win with it, but overall there's literally no use to it. Even if I give it a lot of buffs, it's still just a weird one. Yeah, it just feels really stupid. You know what I could do? I mean, once again, I'm gonna change the accuracy to 100, and I'm gonna change the damage mod to 0, so at the very least it feels a little bit less bad to use. And the Blind Fire should de-stealth, at the very least. I think that would make sense. I mean, you already have this, which is a lot better for de-stealth, but I think that would be okay. Maybe the crit mod should be kind of ridiculous. Maybe the crit mod should be 9, like the ridiculous, like the actual basic ability that she keeps spamming. Yeah, I think the crit mod could go up to 9, and the quick draw damage on acting first is going to go up to +40, so this is actually going to hurt quite a bit. So you could just start off the match with a quick draw, like with 100 accuracy, and for example, if you run like Mini Ball and Eagle Eye Talisman or something of the likes, you are just gonna do actually a hell of a lot of damage. So plus 40 damage mod, plus damage mod, 100 accuracy, and you can basically just take your match after the quick draw. So it could be fun for challenges like, okay, I'm gonna focus on the character, quick draw tells me to focus, like, bam, and okay, I'm gonna focus on this one. Still not as good as aim shot, but usable, and that's what matters. You could also use it instead of buckshot if you do want to, for example, have a better late game, so you can actually get the hits in and actually do a lot of damage with them, and if you're going to run snuff anyway, so that would be perfectly fine. I think both heals should stay the exact same. Curing Bleed is definitely really strong, but there's a character that does it way better now, so I think that having this here is okay. Illuminating Flare and the Ranging Shot aren't going to get any changes. Actually, Ranging Shot is getting a change. For the Stress Heal Musketeer, instead of having minus 12 stress and 85% chance on it, it's going to go down to minus 10 stress and 100% chance on it. So it is a bit of a nerf, I'm going to say. So it is weird that you would do it. But am I entirely sure on this? Because the person that actually likes Stress Musketeer approved this, and I think that's a big nerf, because with minus 10, if you run Brass Bugle, it's only going to heal for 15, which is a big decrease compared to healing for 18. It's just that the 100% chance is good, so no, actually, you know what? I think that we have to stay true to Red Hook, you know, the original game developers, because they have an RNG fetish, so I guess we should keep some RNG in the game. This is definitely one of the best games in terms of RNG, so let's just keep that there. Alright, in terms of the other characters, have I changed the Bounty Hunter? No, I haven't. Considering I've already buffed up his trinkets, I'm not going to change Collect Bounty, because it would be too strong. It's already got, like, way the hell improved because of the Bounty Notice. Mark for Death, no changes, really strong ability. Come Hither, no changes, I think it's really strong, but doesn't need changes. Uppercut, really strong, doesn't need changes. Flashbang definitely needs changes. I would make it so Flashbang does stress, so it would be a little bit better to use for the what do you call it? Where is that thing? For the infamous Visage, and on hit it would actually do even more stress, so that it would actually be kind of a stress bomb at that point. I think that it should do 20 stress with it, and I think that would be okay. It's definitely still a lot weaker than the Disorienting Blast, but you know, one is Plague Doctor, the other is Bounty Hunter. I think that having this do 20 would be nice. With the infamous Visage, it would actually do 35, so that would be kind of insane. But yeah, I think that would be okay. Finish Him is gonna get changed. It's gonna get changed to Finish Them, because pronouns. I think Finish Him is just... There's hers, and there's more pronouns than that, so Finish Them. I usually go Finish Him on her, or something like that, so just change this ability's name to Finish Them. I think that's perfectly fine. And Caltrips is gonna stay the exact same, doesn't really need any changes. I think having that minus 90 damage mod makes sense, so you don't get confirmed death blows or confirmed hits on it against characters that have protection, so I think that's perfectly fine. Alright, in terms of A-Bomb, some people want A-Bomb to have some definite changes, some people want him to transform forever, but after the second transformation you don't apply Horror. And would I approve that? I don't think that's good, because I do like having the unlimited transformations, because that means you're not going to be able to have your guard break forever. I think that's perfectly okay, and I don't want to do a change to this like how I did to the shield breaker, because I think that you should break the guard and push. Sometimes breaking the guard and not pushing would actually be a lot better for the Abomination, so let's keep that in mind as well. If you hear Bianca whining, it's just because she's greedy and she wants more food. She's already had her dinner, but she's greedy like that. But yeah, in terms of his abilities, the Rake could use crit mod. I will say that Rake could use a bit of crit mod. I think giving it +3, so it would have crit mod +4% would be okay. I don't think that it would make him a little bit... I don't think it would make him too OP. I think that having Rage be a little bit more accurate, but have less crit mod would also be perfectly fine. I would give it 95 accuracy, but the crit mod would go down to 8. But at the same time, no, you know what? This is a Rage character. I'm gonna actually buff the crit mod up to 12, and I'm gonna keep the accuracy at 90. Rage doesn't get used even near enough. I think if you want to run Rage, then be my guest. You really need to run accuracy buffs on it, so having it do a little bit more damage would be really cool. I've already changed out his trinkets a bit, so it does make more sense to bring Rage because of the new Taste of Grandeur. so that would be quite nice. You'd probably run Taste of Grandeur and Eagle Eye Talisman, I'd say. Or if you're really crazy, Taste of Grandeur, the new, where is it? The new Jagged Chopper, which is 15% damage universal and 4% crit. And then you'd also just run Battle Bout, or even the new Emboldening Vapors, which gives you 10% stun resistance on top, so that would be actually really freaking cool. And I think that's it for him. I think that there might be a play in just changing out the Beast Smile damage on the riposte, but I still think it's really cool once you do actually make it work, because if you give yourself damage buffs, the riposte is actually going to hurt quite a bit. I don't think it's game breaking, I think it's just really fun to have that happen. I don't think the Abomination needs too many buffs. We've already buffed other characters quite a bit, so he's going to feel a little bit more balanced when compared to them. I think the Invigorating Vapors needs some definite changes. What it should have is it should be kind of like a reverse command. So it should at the very least do minus 4% crit received, because command buff gives you crit chance. So minus 4% crit received would make it feel a touch better. Still not great, like, let's be honest, far from great actually. But at the very least, a touch more playable. Nerfed Stab, we've already buffed it, because we buffed the trinket, so that's fine. And take cover should stay the exact same. I've thought about giving Invigorating Vapors damage reflection, but I felt like that might be a little bit too much, because this is a party buff. So I'm just gonna, literally every character would have a riposte, so that's probably a bit too much. I think just minus 4% crits received would make it a bit more playable. It already feels very oppressive to play against if the matchup is correct. You could technically run this in your defensive anti-current teams, and if you do go into a good matchup, you're gonna have a lot of fun. But if you get minus 4% crits received, then that's definitely going to become way more playable, so... Because you can stack it up to 3 times, and that's minus 12% crit mod. That basically means that most basic abilities or AoE abilities are never going to crit, and that's really freaking good. So that's going to be the anti-current changes. Musketeer, we've already gone over her, plus 5% healing skills on crit, and... Actually, no, there's one change I want to do. I'm not sure if I did it already, but I want the Arbol Split resistance to go from 45 to 35, because at the moment it's way too big. But her Blight resistance is going to go up to 20, which is still not enough, so that's good. And I want the Musketeer's Blight resistance to go up to 25, just like that. No other changes. I'm going to keep her bleed resistance as is, but the blight resistance goes up a touch. Just so she has a little bit of a chance of resisting blight abilities, even from characters with 120% blight chance. So just a very, very, very minor buff to the Musketeer. The Jester, I've already done some changes to his trinkets and all. And Inspiring Tune gives you plus 10% crit mod right now with the well-tuned loot, so that's really freaking cool. It doesn't clear any more stress, but yeah, that would be quite nice. I think that the trinket the ability that really needs buffs in terms of this, or any changes, is the Mortal Wound. Mortal Wound just feels kind of poor at the moment, and the Reaper Shrouds already has debuff skill chance, so it's actually going to be usable with it, so that's going to be quite nice. It has a lot of crit mod, but I think that the damage mod could go up. Or I think that Mortal Wound should be usable from position 4, like Flashing Daggers is usable from position 4 if you have a look at it. I didn't used to believe that, I thought Flashing Daggers was a position 2 and 3 ability, but then I just realized that, wait, it's usable from position 4, okay, it's actually usable then. So I want to do the same for Mortal Wound, usable from position 4, so he's going to be way more useful in the back than what he is at the moment, because right now you're just, in DOT teams or in most teams, in the back he's just here to get Deathless and a little bit of damage, and it's in positions 2 and 3 where he's actually kind of scary to harvest. But with the Mortal Wound, it actually has a lot of accuracy, so giving the Reaper Shroud a buff and making it so it can actually be used from position 4, I think Mortal Wound could be used. I do hope that the debuff is 3 rounds, I'm not sure if it is, but if it isn't, it should be 3 rounds. And that's going to be about it for the Mortal Wound. It's still not going to do too much damage, so I guess I could reduce the damage mod from the minus 33 to probably minus 25, and it would still be balanced. It has a lot of crit mods, so let's keep that in mind. And in terms of the doggy, we've already buffed up his training whistle, so I'm actually not going to buff up Hound's Rush. What I am going to do, though, is I'm going to add items to the Witcher Circus, and I'm going to give him his doggy treats back, so he can actually use them. Yeah, that would be too fun. The Witcher Circus will never have that, I guess, sadly. I think Cry Havoc is an okay ability. If you're not really going to use it as much as the Musketeer's ranging shot, because this also gives minus stress taken and plus accuracy, and de-stealths the opponent. So this one feels kind of poor in comparison. Cry Havoc could do something else. It definitely could use something else. Target Whistle's good enough, Guard's good enough, the heal's good enough, and the Blackjack isn't great, but with the new Sanity's Bane, it could actually be used, so I think I'm just gonna keep it as is. I don't think it needs too many buffs. It's also got a really nice accuracy base, so there's that. I think that I'm not gonna change too much apart from Cry Havoc. Cry Havoc could really use something. Let's see. Okay, I've had Bianca Interference, and I've had two really crazy ideas. So let me know if you agree with me on this or not, but I've had two just insane freaking ideas that they're never going to be added, but I want your opinion on them, and I think they would be overpowered, but also really freaking cool. So I think that how I want to buff Antiquarian's Invigorating Vapors and the Houndmaster is making them kind of like a yin and yang kind of thing. So I want Invigorating Vapors to still give plus dodge, but Houndmaster's Cry Havoc is still going to give minus stress. I would give it plus accuracy, but I'm not sure if that's balanced. Should it give plus 10 accuracy? I'm not entirely sure. Like, would it be OP if this gave you plus 10 accuracy with a chance on it? I think that if we reduce the stress down to minus 10, it could give you plus 10 accuracy for like one round. I think that would be okay. So stress minus 10 and plus 10 accuracy for one round. But here's the fun part. Antiquarian's Invigorating Vapors now give you minus 1% crits received chance. Battle long buffs. They're gonna last until the very end, and you can spam it. Same thing for the Cry Havoc. These are abilities that you can only use in the back, so you can be disrupted. But the Cry Havoc is going to give you minus 1% crits received chance. No, actually, no, opposite. This one's going to give you minus 1% crits received, and this one's going to give you plus 1% crit chance. Battle. So you're essentially going to have stall teams be a thing again. Or, you know, stall teams with Antiquarian and Doggy being a thing again, because they haven't been in stall situations for quite a while, and that's quite sad. But yeah, the Houndmaster is now going to have permanent offensive buffs, and the Antiquarian with permanent defensive buffs. So if you stack this up like, I don't know, like 10 rounds in a row, which, wow, it's crazy if you can do that, you're basically going to have minus 10% crit received battle long, which is just brutal, absolutely brutal. You're never getting crit. And if you run Cry Havoc and you stack it 10 times in a row, for once, you're not going to eat any stress, pretty much. You're going to be clearing it, so you're going to be clearing some stress. Only 10 isn't really a huge amount, but you're also going to be adding plus 10 accuracy for one round to all your other characters, giving yourself also plus 10 accuracy for 2 rounds, so you can actually use it, because you use up the immediate buff, because that's weird, but that's just how it is. For example, command buffs gives 3 rounds of command to other characters, but only 2 to the man-at-arms. So yeah, this would give that, and then plus 1% crit, just permanent. And to actually help that a little bit, I've decided to change the Tattered Shoe Toy, because now with the plus 50% stress relief skills wouldn't really do as much, because it's only 10 at the moment. So what I would do with it is I would buff the plus 50% up to plus 66%, so it would cure a little bit more stress. Still not make it as good as it was before, but still quite good. And if you want to run it with Brass Bugle, then sure, go ahead. And I think that would be really freaking cool to have these two abilities that are always there, looming. That minus crits received and that plus crits received. Of course, if you manage to like stall up to round 20, which is what the stall teams kind of aim for, because if you can stall up to like round 12, for example, you pretty much already won if you're playing a stall team. And if you can stall up to round 20, then you've won for sure. Unless you're also playing against a stall team, and at that point it's just going to be decided by round 40. But if you manage to stall to round 12, you're already going to have plus 12 crit chance, minus 12% crits received chance. If you're on both of them, which is insane. But if you do that, which is my old stall team, I had this. It's kind of a crazy setup, but the idea behind it was Man-at-Arms spam Bellow. Flash Launch is here for the defense and support Flash Launch Call to Advanced Solution, and then he would have full defense, she would have full defense, and I would spam Rejuvenating Vapors, Cry Havoc, Bellows, and Reclaim Suffer on this one. And I would guard eventually if I would need to with these characters, so it would be, it's not the best stall team, but it definitely worked kind of in some situations. But with this, if you manage to stall for a while, you're not going to have to wait until round 40. You're going to win by round 15. Because by round 15, you already have plus 15% crit chance for your Hound's area. If you drop one command buff, this is gonna have, holy shit, it's gonna have 26% crit chance on everyone. This is an AoE ability, so it's just GG at that point. So yeah, that would be pretty fun to see. Probably not gonna happen. If that's not gonna happen, just keep Cry Havoc as it is. I think that the small buff to Tattered Chew Toy, which is plus 2 max HP, just makes it, you know, like almost usable. So yeah, if you don't want to keep that, so be it. And the final change I'm gonna do to the Butcher Circus, absolute final one, is a mechanics change. I'm gonna give the last character standing buff, which at the moment gives you 10 accuracy, 10% damage, and 10% death blow resistance. I will also give it 20% stun resistance. I was thinking whether I should give it 10 or 25. I think 25 would be too much, I think 10 would be too little. So I'm gonna give it 20, which is Brass Knuckles, Tiger Finger. So I think that would be good, because at the end you wouldn't be perma-stunned, so that would help you quite a bit. If you are afflicted, you can still be perma-stunned, but yeah. At least with the last character standing, you would be a little bit more resistant to the stuns, which is great. Getting perma-stun at the end of the match feels terrible at the moment, and I don't want to see that happen too much longer. So now, as promised, I will show you the trinkets I made. Alright, and here we are at the trinkets I made. So the first one is going to be for J-Man, and I made this trinket and I gave him 2 dodge, 30% stun resistance, and plus 25% stress health versus bleeding. So the 2 dodge is in reference to that one specific match where I missed a 93% chance to exsanguinate against him and lost the tournament best of 3 because of it, so I still remember it, and so I gave him 2 dodge so he can replicate that more often. Give him 30 stun res because he really hates stuns, he doesn't like playing against them, he thinks they're unfun, and I gave him plus 25% stress health versus bleeding because he loves the Crimson Hook, he puts it on everyone. So overall, this is a trinket that you'd probably run on a Houndmaster, which would make you really resistant to stuns. It would still give you a lot of stress health versus bleeding. You just need to bring your accuracy and bleed chance and crits from somewhere else. But overall, quite a nice trinket. Second up, we have Annie, one of my subscribers, and I forgot to quote Anon, oh brave Anon, so I gave them all like their own little quote, so that is quite a cool thing that I did. I do still have a few people to do these trinkets for, so there's that. I did one for Annie, which is just plus 40% stress relief skills, minus 10 stress taken, and for any skill, heal self 10% max HP. So what this would actually do is, if you had like a stress heal character, you could heal yourself physically as you stress heal other characters, so that would be really freaking strong, like on the Jester with his inspiring tune. Hello, small funny people inside my head. How are you doing today with Woo Void? So that's a pretty funny one. Next we have Demonic Toaster, and he really likes his Antiquarian, so I decided to give him kind of an Antiquarian trinket. On kill, heal party 3 points per round for 3 rounds, so it's basically rejuvenating vapors if you get a kill, but you have minus death dealt chance for it, so it's kind of weird. And you have virtue chance and stress taken on top, so it's kind of like a Tears of the Lost trinket, but it's defensive, but at the same time it's offensive, so that's pretty cool. You underestimate the power of Vigorous Antiquarian, so if you want to bring it on Antiquarian, you would get virtue chance with it. Having minus death dealt chance on Antiquarian is really sad because she likes it on her Festering Vapors, but getting that on-kill heal, if you're like the last character alive, or it's like a final 2v2, like that's just going to be broken. You can activate this 4 times, by the way, which is basically a free Rejuvenating Vapors action. So on kill you get another action, so you could just get a massive snowball going, but you're going to have to deal with that death dealt chance. So overall, really cool trinket, in my opinion, but you know, I made it. Here's FCC's one, so he's quite a really cool YouTuber, and this is in reference to his London Residents team video. It's a really cool one where you just bring 4 characters that have the stabs, so I just made it based on that. So plus 25% damage melee skill, which is a huge amount, but minus 3 accuracy, and on melee attack hits self back 1, which is good, at the same time could be bad, it depends, it just means that your team's gonna be dancing around. But I gave it that because the characters would basically just shank someone down to a Death's Door and kill it, and then they would surrender because, you know, London residents. And the code behind is Salutations, my name is Sir Parker Porter Powell Pumpernickel III. So that is quite a funny name. For the 4th person, it's another person in my Discord, so it's Gonzo, and he has quite a funny quote, but he likes giving everyone hugs. So on being hit, self-stress -5 because he's a chill dude, and on being hit, he heals the party for a bit, so you really can't focus him down, he's just gonna come back stronger. So he's gonna have 3 points of regen for 1 round. Will that hot, not gonna lie. Quite a funny quote. don't remember when he said that. And here's Hall Taker. He's one of the mods in my Discord server. He's kind of a stoic, so I decided to give him plus 10 accuracy, 8 crit, so he has the focused buff on yourself, but he has minus 5 max HP, so he has to sacrifice some of his health to get all that that stoicness and all that accuracy and crit, like that focused nature. And he has quite an interesting quote. Sad fact is, people lost in the desert would probably take sex over water. I have no idea where he got that from. I have no idea if that's true or not, but you know, good to you, good for you, I guess. Jane Moon is the person that is also doing the document, and they literally dressed up as Jester once for like a Halloween party, so I decided to give them kind of like a Jester-based trinket, and I know that they're a person that likes to think things through a lot, so plus 10 accuracy and plus 8% crit melee skills is really quite strong. Definitely quite strong, but as a downside, it's gonna have plus 10% stress take, which isn't as bad as minus 5 max HP. These two are kind of like similar. And their quote is, I mean, I literally dressed up as a Jester yesterday. So there's that. In case you're wondering if any of these trinkets were private, they weren't. I just posted them in the Discord server, so there's that. And here's Comrade. Comrade is quite famous, infamous, renowned in the Shuffle Discord and the Shuffle Twitch stream, and he loves himself, or they love themselves, the Adder's Kiss from the Shieldbreaker, so I just gave them an Adder's Kiss trinket. It's gonna be plus damage versus Blighted, plus 7% crit versus Blighted, so really cool buffs, plus 25% death blow chance versus Blighted, so it's really a Blight trinket. Doesn't give quite as much damage as, for example, the Fang Spear Talisman on the Shieldbreaker, but it also gives you minus 20% Blight resistance, because, you know, it makes sense considering the quote. I want Shieldbreaker to Adder's Kiss me and thank her for it. That is quite a funny one. Here we have Medela, so Medela is the kind of person that just plays WD all day, all night, so I gave them a WD trinket, and plus 20% damage versus marked, plus 20% damage versus stunned, plus 20% armor piercing versus marked, plus 20% armor piercing versus stunned. Now, you're only really going to make use of one of them at a time, hopefully, but 20% damage versus marked and 20% armor piercing is really good. For example, if you bring this like on the Abomination, you just transform Rage, like it's gonna hurt like crazy. But at the same time, it will also be useless at the end of the match, most likely. So it does have its downsides. And the quote is, I'm going after him with WD. I had so many WD quotes to use with Medela, so I just ended up going for this one, because I think he lost a match against someone because he wasn't playing WD, and then he said, I'm going after him with WD, and there we go. Here we have Medved, which is a couple between Medved and Annie, and it's going to be the protector kind of couple. So plus 15% prot when guarding, which is good. Plus 10 dodge when guarding. So this is basically half of the Houndmaster, half of the Man-at-Arms buffs. It gives you plus 30% stun resistance and minus 30% stress taken. So you're really tanky, you're dodgy, you can't be stunned, you can't be stressed out while you're guarding, but you have minus 33% guard duration, which essentially means that you need to guard every single round. So you can't be doing commands, you can't be doing bolsters or anything of the likes. And the quote is, don't call me Baka, except the Baka is written with Russian letters, so that's quite funny. And I don't think this is the last one, but here we have Rat. So Rat is what I've done to the Impossible Glyph, and the quote is, you aren't getting your goodnight kiss now, so that is quite a cute one too. And then we have Riley, which has a blue heart, of course, and she's gonna get plus 10 prot, plus 10 dodge, so that's really good, the defensive buffs, and she's also gonna get minus 15% damage taken while marked, and minus 15% stress taken while marked. So this is like a solo trinket, so this is a solo trinket for the Jester, because she has her team, which is called the Twin Bosses, which just brings a Jester and a Flagellant, and they're both really, really difficult to focus down, because there's Block of Lights, there's all this defense. And the quote is quite a funny one. Some people here are, maybe I'll hold off on getting against the band. So that's one of her first messages in the server, so that was quite a funny one. And then, not last yet, but we have Not Stormy today, which is famous for playing those Grave Robbers. Literally every single team he plays as the Grave Robbers, so I just gave him plus 5 dodge and plus 5% stun resistance, because Grave Robber's gonna like those. You know, it's a little bit of dodge, a little bit of stun res, it's perfectly okay. And I gave it plus 1000% crit while stealth, because plus 100% isn't enough. And what that basically means is, after Shadow Fade you have a confirmed crit, after Take Cover you have a confirmed crit, after Stygian Embrace you have a confirmed crit, and that's what I didn't consider when I made this trinket, because it's gonna make Stygian Embrace absolutely ridiculous. And the quote is, holy Kinno. And the last one, last but not least, is the real me. So he has 7.8k hours in Darkest Dungeon. He has an absolutely unreal amount of videos of just doing crazy stuff. He has a video where he went to round 813 to kill a siren, with blood, like with Crimson Curse characters hitting their allies. So what he did was he brought 2 lepers, and when they would get a word, the leper would have to act out to hit the siren, and he wanted to win that way and just spam Solemnity with both of them the entire way through. And he did it in 813 rounds, so congrats to you. He has a YouTube channel, go check it out if you haven't. It was his birthday yesterday, so go give him a birthday if you haven't either. And because of that determination to play Darkest Dungeon for so freaking long, 7.8k hours, way more than me, like way the hell more, I just gave him a trinket that makes you hard to kill. So 3 max HP, 5 prot, plus 10% death resistance, minus 10 stress taken. Not too much of a special trinket. I wanted to make it like that, those lepers in that siren fight, but I couldn't do something in the way that would just make it kind of too overpowered, so I just gave him these stats, which are definitely quite cool if you bring him on a character that doesn't have prot already. So if you bring this on the Abomination, for example, you're gonna have a bit more HP, you're gonna have more protection, you're gonna have minus stress taken, so you could even run this with Clash of the Beast and be quite the tank. And his quote is, "I am burning with lunatic passion." So anyway, that's gonna be all for today, and that might be all for a few days, at least in terms of the Witcher Circus, because once again, this is the last video I'm doing before the update. I'm getting way too tired of the Witcher Circus, but I really hope you enjoyed it. I really hope you enjoyed this final part. I definitely enjoyed making. It's been quite a journey. Hopefully the journey does go on, and expect either a Hades or a Project Zomboid video tomorrow. So anyway, I'll see you all another time. Cheers.